Use this video to check your answers to see if you are finding the exact values correctly. Starting off with the sine of 120 degrees. First off, 120 degrees is in quadrant 2, and it has the coordinates of -1/2 and square root of 3 over 2. The one thing I want you to remember is that the sine means the y value. So we're specifically looking at the y coordinate of this angle measure, and therefore our answer is the square root of 3 over 2. Next, we'll take a look at the cosine of 225 degrees. When looking at the cosine of 225 degrees, that is in quadrant 3, and therefore it has the coordinates of negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. Now when we're looking at the cosine, again, we're specifically looking at the x value of the coordinate. So we're looking at the negative square root of 2 over 2 as being our answer to the cosine of 225 degrees. Next, we'll take a look at the tangent of 45 degrees. Tangent of 45 degrees begins by looking first in quadrant 1, and again we're going to use similar coordinates of square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2. Now when you're looking at tangent, you're looking at both the x and the y value in a relationship where it's the y divided by the x. So I'm going to go ahead and start by taking my y value here and dividing it by, using a different color, square root of 2 over 2. Now, one thing we learned is that when you have a fraction over a fraction and they have the same denominator, you can go ahead and cancel those denominators out, leaving you with the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, and hopefully you'll realize that that makes a giant 1. You may have noticed that even back here, both the numerator and the denominator are the same, making a giant 1. So therefore, the tangent of 45 degrees is 1. Now looking at the cosecant of 330 degrees. 330 degrees starts off by looking at quadrant 4. The coordinates of that angle measure are square root of 3 over 2, comma, -1/2. The cosecant deals specifically with the y value. It's the reciprocal of that, so I'm actually going to write it as 1 over y. It's the reciprocal of sine. So we're going to look at that y value specifically. So two ways you can look at this. You can look at it as being 1 over -1/2 and then multiplying that by the reciprocal. So it would be 1 times 2 over -1, which would just simplify to being -2. Or you may have noticed that you can take the reciprocal of this fraction right away, having it be -2 over 1, and then just simplifying it there to being -2. Either way, the cosecant of 330 degrees is -2. Moving on now to the secant of 270 degrees. 270 degrees falls on the axes of in between quadrants 3 and 4. It has the coordinates of 0 and -1. When you're looking at secant, you're looking at the reciprocal of your x value. So we're going to look specifically at 0. So I'm going to write this fraction as 1 over 0. Anytime you're dividing by 0, you resulted in an undefined answer because you cannot divide by 0. Lastly, we'll take a look at the cotangent of 150 degrees. 150 degrees goes back into quadrant 2. Its coordinates are negative square root of 3 over 2 and positive 1/2. Cotangent takes on the relationship of your x coordinate divided by your y coordinate. So when I write this fraction out, I'm going to take negative square root of 3 over 2 as my x value, and I'm going to divide that by my y value. Again, when you have a fraction over a fraction and the two fractions have the same denominator, those can go ahead and cancel out. I can then rewrite my fraction as negative square root of 3 over 1, which truly just does simplify to being negative square root of 3.